Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Al Murray.
Al Murray, pub landlord.
Pub landlord.
I used to like a bit of Al Murray. He's a funny guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, really good.
We are the Office Blokes. We've got other YouTube channels, we've got Instagrams, we've got a Patreon, we've got all that good stuff. If you go to the description, there's a Linktree link. Click it, it'll take you everywhere you need to go.
A Linktree.
I got sick of people saying the links don't work. So there you go, they work. Click it, do it. We recently were banned on the main channel, so it does help us massively if you like and subscribe on our two other channels. So yeah, do that. And Office Bloke Daz is going to very briefly tell you about our very, very new segment.
Office Blokes Confidential. Where viewers write in with their problems and we give our advice on how to combat them problems.
It's a bit
How to make it right.
It's a bit of a roast. It's a bit of actual advice. It's a bit of fun. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Mostly taking the piss.
Yeah, it's mostly taking the piss. Yeah, if you want to be a part of that, email us, officeblokespodcast@gmail.com, and head over to Office Blokes Podcast YouTube channel and you can get a taste for what it is.
Do you know what the good thing about that is? What you learn on there is Mike showing us how he does the
Swipe.
Office Bloke swipe.
Yeah.
The spank and swipe.
I think we actually need some merch that is the Office Blokes swipes, you know. I really do. I think we could shift a few. Anyway, this is a topic that's very close to our hearts, actually, isn't it? All three of us.
Yeah.
7 ways British and American pubs are very different.
7 with British pubs. No, I don't know 2 British pubs the same.
That's true. That's true. But the traditional one, you've got to have the garish carpet. You've got to have the really old sort of benches that are haggard.
The railway.
Little stools.
Yeah.
The railway's nice, though.
Yeah, but it's made to look like that.
It's made to look like that.
And that's what all pubs are now. They're all made to look like the same way how you're describing it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we'll get into
The guy in the corner with the dog.
There's always a guy with a dog. A guy got kicked out of Wetherspoons on Sunday night because he had a dog, but he had a little dash hound in his coat and he was just walking around talking to people, having a pint, and they went, no dogs, get out.
No dogs?
They weren't nice to him about it either.
I thought everywhere you had to say dogs now.
No.
I wouldn't have thought you'd be all dogs everywhere.
No.
Go on the railway.
Down to their
It's like a
discretion,
fucking
isn't it?
dog pound.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 7 ways British and American pubs are very different. Let's do this.
In the US, this varies by state, but there's not a single one in the Union that mandates that pubs close as early as that.
I didn't expect that accent from him straight away.
What accent is that?
He's English.
What, is he like an IT techie or something?
Probably, yeah.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover
Sorry to pause so quick again,
But
we've got that same picture in our office.
We do, you're right.
we have.
We can just get it in the background for the video.
all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to pubs. Pubs, where would we be without them? A question that's been decisively answered in the hellscape that is 2020. In fact, while we're on the subject of the pandemic, do keep in mind, Uncle Toby, that a lot of what you're about to hear in this video might temporarily not be true. That doesn't mean that it's not ordinarily true, it just means that pubs have had to make a lot of changes on either side of the pond. And the key word there is either. I think before I moved to the United States, I was under the assumption that America didn't have pubs, but specialised instead in bars. But America does have pubs. Sometimes they'll be the kind of pubs that are looking to mimic those in Britain or Ireland. And those ones are easy to spot because they'll say something like Johnny's Irish Pub, or the Elephant and Castle in allusion to Britain's many castles and elephants. But then America does have pubs in its own right, usually called something along the lines of Merv's Tavern. And since I'm now familiar with how pubs operate in both countries, I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about 7 ways that British and American pubs are very different. So go and order yourself a pint of Foster's or Miller Lite as we order in the first round.
I don't want a pint of either of them. Just going to put it out there.
Miller Lite. What was the other one?
Foster's.
Oh, no.
No.
I wasn't even paying attention.
The story of my drinking life goes a little bit like this. At the ages of 16 and 17, I could waltz up to the bar of any British pub and order myself an absinthe. And that's not because 16 is the legal drinking age in Britain. It's because A, door security is usually pretty lax, as in there is no door security. And B, I've always looked 4 years older than I am. No, the legal drinking age in Britain is 18, so imagine my surprise on my 18th birthday when me and a few mates went to paint the town red, not literally, that's another story, and I got carded for the first time in my entire life, and the problem was I didn't have any ID with me. Fast forward 9 years, 27 years old, and I've moved to the United States of America. What's the first thing that happens as I enter a pub? I get carded. But then depending on the state, it is not unusual for people that are much older, sometimes 70 years older, to be carded.
At weekend, I went in a pub with my son who was just 18. It was his birthday on Sunday. And I took him in the pub with us before the game. And it was his first legal beer he can have. So I ordered, and I just let him order sort of thing. And he said, I'll have a bottle of Corona or whatever he ordered. And the girl said to him, "You got ID?" And I sort of started laughing because he never carries ID around with him. And he goes, "Yep." Straight in his pocket, gets his driving license out, and there you go. Yeah.
I genuinely got ID'd in Asda about 3 weeks ago buying a bottle of wine. And I was just looking at her like, really? Really?
But you know the benefit of showing ID to my son on Sunday? Free drinks at the bar.
Because it was his birthday.
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh, nice.
Awesome. So they got him free drinks.
An American pub. Trust me, saw this with my own eyes. It happened to Dick Van Dyke. Of course, by then, I'd learned my lesson and I did indeed have some ID. Ironically, I get carded a lot less these days, one of the perks of being a YouTube sensation and 38 years old. So nationally, the legal drinking age in the United States is 21, but that hasn't always been the case. In some states, it was even once like Britain, a pub could legally serve somebody who was 18 years or older. In 1969, while Neil and Buzz were landing on the moon, teenagers could legally land themselves a glass of Blue Moon. But only in the states of Louisiana and Neil Armstrong's home state of Ohio. And then something changed. By 1975, the number of 18 states had risen to 23. This was a domino effect following the recent change of the voting age from 21 to 18. The belief being that if somebody's old enough to vote, they're old enough to drink. The problem is, legislators didn't stop to think about what would happen if these two things happened at the same time. By 1983, the numbers plummeted as states moved to increase their drinking age once more to 21. This was seen as a response to an increase in drunk driving incidents. And the domino effect was complete in 1984, when President Ronald Reagan signed into law the National Minimum Drinking Age Act, which outlawed the purchase of alcohol by individuals under the age of 21. In 2020, one or two parental loopholes notwithstanding, the legal drinking age remains 21 in all US states and territories except Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands, where it's 18.
He missed out the fact that in a UK pub you can drink at 16 as long as it's with a meal. You can have like a pint of cider, can't you? Or I think you can have a glass of wine.
You can.
Yeah.
As long as you order a meal at the same time.
It has to be with an adult as well.
Yeah, accompanied by an adult. But I think 21's ridiculous for a drinking age. I think you've got to learn how to drink.
I can see why they did it, but that is
You're
one of the
still
reasons.
training, mate. You two.
I've had enough of it now.
After the weekend, that's probably one of the reasons, though, because of things like drunk driving and sort of like people getting into trouble. More likely to happen when you're younger, I suppose, isn't it?
But you can drive at 16 in America. Then you've got, if the drinking age was 18, then you've got 2 years to drive before you're allowed to start drinking.
That's if everybody takes a test at 16, which clearly they won't.
No.
I'm not sure you can take your test at 16.
I thought you could. I thought 16 is the age.
I think you can
no
get your
idea
permit.
about driving, to be honest.
You can get your permit at 16, but I think you have to be 17 to pass your test. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
There was something like that. I can't remember.
Right.
Whereas over here, you've got to be 17 to get your provisional permit.
Yeah.
Pubs, what are they good for? Well, the answer to that question could be different depending on which country you are in. I mean, sure, in both countries, one of the chief aims of pubs is to give customers a place to get pissed until the cows come home. And if you've ever been drinking with me, that happens regularly. But the main difference here lies in their purpose in the middle of the day. In Britain, if we go to the pub in the middle of the day, often this can take on a quiet but social tone. We just go to talk over a pint. In a way, it's like how Americans go and grab a coffee. Coffee. Why am I saying it like that? One country emerges from this scenario drunk on caffeine, the other drunk on the street. Apart from that, it's the same thing. If you go into the pub in the middle of the day in America, you can usually expect that to be coupled with a sporting event. And that doesn't mean you yourself get drunk and start playing polo. It means you enter a pub that's simultaneously showing about 28 different sports. In order to do that, said pub would need to have a ton of these. That's right, in America, the term sports bar is almost redundant, though I'm finding firsthand the same is not true of the term sports bra. Don't ask, one word, tequila. But the reason that the term sports bar ought to be redundant is that just about every pub and bar in America is worthy of that title. In other words, it's incredibly common to walk into an establishment and be surrounded by television sets. And these television sets don't typically show repeats of Happy Days, but of the Cubs losing, or at least when I'm around. In British pubs, you will occasionally find a TV, but the emphasis is not on consuming television, but rather on consuming alcohol and the words of your friends. That sounded weird.
Kind of disagree with him on that one.
I 100% disagree with him on that.
The majority of pubs have TVs and show sports.
Yeah, do these days, definitely.
The ones that don't have been priced out of it, and they haven't got enough custom to warrant themselves being a Calder sports bar. And you know where they are, and they're there now to serve food and accommodate families.
Which is because they have to subscribe to like sports channels, don't like
Which
Sky
is expensive.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
But you've got like the Samuel Smith's pubs in this country where they banned all technology as
They're
well.
not even pubs.
Use a phone, can you? Really?
No phone. You know, you can't answer a phone call. You can't write a text. There's no TVs. There's no music.
I've seen the clientele that goes into Sam Smith's pub, and they're just weird. It's just full-on weirdos that go in there.
Apart from a few key ones like Sinclair's in town and stuff like that, they're all going to die off over the next few years.
No, absolutely, massively. Yeah,
I just won't go in one. I refuse to go in. He's a knob, and the pub's a shit.
But he's wrong about that. The vast majority of pubs in the UK do have a TV.
I agree.
Earlier in the video, I joked that we ourselves don't play sports while down at the pub, but in either country this isn't strictly true. Of course, in Britain this depends on whether or not you class darts as a sport, especially when you're at the pub because you've got a drink in your hand, which I've just realised is also true of professional darts players. Either way, darts are an incredibly popular sport in British pubs. In American pubs, even though you will occasionally encounter the odd dartboard, sometimes very odd dartboard, they're just not as big a part of the pub-going experience. And when you think about the sentence, drunk people throwing sharp objects, that probably makes sense.
I know there's an element of satire here, but I'm kind of disagreeing with him on a couple of things as well. I obviously can't comment on the dartboards in America.
I used to go to a pub. I try to think of the name of it while we're doing this, and it's for those who live in the Woodlands or in Houston. There was two pubs very close by to each other. They're almost like one was an English bar, one was an Irish bar. I can't remember the name of it. One had like a Jekyll and Hyde type theme to it.
Right.
I just can't remember. I don't think it was called Jekyll and Hyde, but it was something like that. And then there was an Irish one right next, or a few doors down. They had dartboards. We used to go and play darts in there all the time.
Yeah, that'd be Elephant Castle and Paddy's.
Well, it is, but it was just one of them. There was just obviously two theme bars that were like Irish, English sort of theme bars, but that's, what else? It doesn't matter how you put a bar. However you do a bar, it's either going to be American themed, English themed, or Irish themed. I can't think of any other themed bar you would have.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have like an Icelandic themed bar or a German thing. Well, you would have a German
unless you
themed
go
bar,
into
like an opera house.
Unless you go into the niche ones where like Manchester has computer game bars now and ping pong bars.
Computer game bar. Can you imagine?
There's one in the Northern Quarter.
There's one in Didsbury that has board games.
I've seen
Really?
that.
I
There's
think
one
of
in
anything
Northwich
worse
as well.
to do.
Yeah,
So sat there playing Scrabble
Yeah.
while having like a cup of tea or something.
Having a pint.
I just walking past and I'm just looking in and I'm going, "Phew."
It's pretty popular.
gives me a shiver when I walk past.
I'm reminded of those stories of American tourists who enter a British pub, sit at a table and wait on a waiter to wait for them. Here's the truth, you could be waiting a long time because unlike the United States, British pubs tend not to employ table service. And this can be a problem, particularly when the pub is heaving in the sense of crowded, not throwing up. You want to make sure you get a seat. I understand that, right? So here's what you do. If you're there in a group, one of you go up to the bar while the rest of you claim the seat. The one at the bar orders all of the drinks and then it's his or her responsibility to carry them to the table. Just don't use the term double fisting. In America, things are different. Even during the Super Bowl, which is not a national dish, you can fully expect to receive table service in most pubs throughout the land. Of course, this could be partially dictated by the tipping culture that exists in America. And fellow Brits, that's not the same thing as fly tipping.
It's changed now with COVID. It's table service only.
That's all it is,
But even the bars I go in, I still when I walk in, I just walk up to the bar.
Yeah.
It's natural
And they
habit,
go,
isn't it?
take a chair, I'll bring it over.
When we were in Spoons on Sunday, it's an app to order your drinks, or they were doing table service as well. So I first got in there, ordered the pints on the app, and they were on the bar on a tray, and we could see them for 10 minutes just sat there, and the manager was leaning on the bar next to our drinks just chatting to someone.
I can't go in there. That's another pub I can't go in.
But it's supposed to be table service, and I forgot you had to wear a mask as well, and I just got up and just walked straight over to the bar, and I went, can I take these? I'm sick of looking at them. They've been there 10 minutes. And she went, no, I'll bring them to you. And then a few more minutes went by, and then they got brought over.
That is why I don't go in there.
But I was just like...
The service has always been terrible.
I'd be more stressed out than anything going in pubs like that.
Yeah.
I was getting stressed. That's why I went over there and just tried to grab him. And it's not the first time I've done that. So I'm not sitting looking at my pint for 10 minutes when I'm thirsty.
I went somewhere yesterday and we ordered 2 different drinks. Don't want to get off the subject, but this is what we're talking about, sitting down. It was a restaurant I was in, and I had ordered a drink, Gaynor ordered a drink, and he brought them over and he took them to the next table. And the table said, it's not ours. I went, they're here, mate. So he put them down on the table, and I looked at them both, and Gaynor had ordered cider and I'd ordered beer. And I went, they're both beers. And the guy come over, he went, they're both beers. And I went, yeah. And he went, you don't want the cider? I went, yeah. He went, well, I'll take that bit. I went, no, leave it. I'll take them both. I'm thinking, by the time I've drank one and I tried to order another, it'll take me ages. Just leave them both there now. Yeah. But you don't want to order 2.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing with the app. As soon as the pint gets down to just before halfway, then I order another round of drinks, because it might take 10 minutes. So you don't want to be sat there with an empty glass.
Yeah, but you go in the railway. If ever you come to England, you got the railway in Hale, and it's the best service in any bar I've ever been in. You never
High
go.
praise.
You're never waiting. Never ever waiting.
You're never waiting.
No matter how busy. No matter how busy it is. Well, me yelling across the bar as well.
Well, precisely.
Calling someone.
Hurry up!
At the end of the day, we go to the pub to get absolutely rat-arsed or to have a casual drink. And so to some degree, it's going to vary from country to country as to what is on tap. There are some crossovers, and I dare say some exceptions to what I'm about to say. But there are lots of differences in the beers that are served, and this can vary from pub to pub, or even region to region. Any pub, British or American, worth their salt will feature a comprehensive list of local beers. Naturally, these are going to be different between Britain and America, but also between regions within each of those countries. But then you get down to the big names too. In Britain, you're far more likely to be ordering the Australian beer Foster's than you are Samuel Adams. If that's not your bag, there's always Carlsberg or Carling. In America, Budweiser or Miller Lite. And if you want one that unites the two countries, you could go for the Belgian beer Stella Artois.
Beer of Kings.
Which you introduced to America, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also Budweiser is in every single pub in this country.
Samuel Adams is.
I've seen
You can
Samuel
get Sam
Adams.
I've never seen Foster's.
Foster's used to be everywhere.
I've never seen
but
Foster's in a pub over here.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you still get it.
Really?
On
On
draft.
draft?
Yeah, sure.
I've not seen it for years.
Just tastes
Yeah.
like piss, that's all.
But you can get Sam Adams. I've had Sam Adams
Yeah.
over here.
I've never had that. I don't
Yeah.
think actually.
I've had it a few
seen
times
it.
over here.
But, yeah, but Budweiser
You
is
can get Brooklyn
every
Lagers.
pub.
Brooklyn Lager you can get over here. Sam Adams. The only thing I've not seen over here, which I used to see when I was in the USA, Shinabot.
Right. There's an American IPA called Shipyard that's everywhere
Oh, I've
nowadays.
seen that loads of times, yeah.
And I think that is legit American.
Yeah.
They probably brew it over here, but
Yeah.
it's an American beer.
I never even knew that was American.
American
Shipyard.
IPA.
Yeah.
Shipyard American IPA.
I've
That's
never
what it's
done.
called.
Well, clearly you've never seen the American
You
beer.
don't get past the Carling keg.
Which in Britain is trashy and in the US it's classy. And then of course there's the pint size itself. Let me go back in time and hand you over to Lawrence from a few months ago. Great Britain might be unfairly known for its warm beer, but at least you get more bang for your buck, or should I say quid. You see, a British pint is larger than its American counterpart. To some, that might sound like something that I cooked up after, 4 pints of Stella, especially since each country defines a pint as 1/8 of a gallon. But here's the catch. Gallons are different too. In the US, a gallon is equal to 3.79 litres. In Britain, it's equal to 4.55 litres. So 1/8 of a US gallon gives you a pint of 473 millilitres. So a good old British pint clocks in at 568. And this is great news for American beer fans in Britain, because it means that 6 American pints are equal to 5 British ones. You'll be slaughtered before the pub quiz starts. Aside from the fact that you now have a particular song stuck in your head, you're probably asking the question, what's the difference between British and American closing times? You see, in Britain, right up until about 2005, it was mandated that pubs had to close at 11 p.m. On the one hand, you could get around this by starting your drinking session earlier, say at 7 o'clock in the morning. On the other, given the time difference, you couldn't stay around long enough to watch wrestling pay-per-views. But then in 2005, a law was passed that said that pubs could stay open 24 hours so long as they had a specific license. But by all accounts, it looks like most British pubs haven't applied for this license because they still shut at 11 p.m. In the US, this varies by state, but there's not a single one in the Union that mandates that pubs close as early as that. In fact, 27 states in the Union permit their pubs to stay open until 2 a.m. And it's usually at that time, after tequila, that my voice really does sound like that. Now, there are some notable exceptions to this rule. Alaska and Hawaii are to drinking times what Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands are to the legal drinking age. In other words, they're so far away from the mainland they can sort of get away with it. What can they get away with? Staying open until 4 and 5 a.m. There are state and local exceptions to those rules just in case you were thinking of moving to either of those states. That's closing time on this episode. Let me know in the comments below your experiences of pubs in either country. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter where
See,
Interesting.
but when I was in Vegas, I remember going out to the strip at about midnight thinking it's going to be banging, there's going to be people everywhere and stuff going on. Everywhere was shut.
Was
I
it?
was just walking around like it's not what I expected whatsoever. Obviously in the hotels you can still drink and stuff like that, but I just thought there'd be loads of bars and just loads of life. It was weird.
My experiences, I've done both, the USA and the UK bar scene, and when I go to, the one thing I used to like, shout out to the Ivy League on Route 1 and 9.
Fair enough.
It might be just Route 9 now. I can't remember where it stopped. In Monmouth County, and what used to like, they used to have the big square bar in the middle, and you go in and you'd order food, and the barman would cook the food for you. Like on a big grill, whether you're having a burger, steak, or whatever you're having, and you'd sit there, and you'd never go empty. You'd sit there and you'd drink, and you'd stay until whatever time you kind of they threw you out type thing. Yeah. But that's the difference between bar staff in America. I went to America when I was quite young, so I think I was 22 when I first went to the USA, and to experience that bar scene and then come back here, and then you say to the guy, and he's going, oh, I'm just serving someone, and it's taking him like 20 minutes to pour a pint. I'm like, God.
Do you think a lot of that is down to the fact that you have to tip in America, so they feel like they're working for it a bit more for the tips and everything, and they feel like it's part of the wage?
It's like I've said it before on here, as soon as I go in a pub or if I go in somewhere, I always make sure I tip good on my first round to make sure then that I've kind of like got his attention. Yeah. And I always look after the bar staff, always, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. And I know now whenever I go in the bars, I get favoritism. I know I get favoritism. People always say, how come you get served before me? And I go, because I fucking pay and you don't.
Like railway.
Precisely, yeah.
And that's what it is. And that's,
I think the tipping culture has got to be part of it, but I think bar staff and service industry don't get paid that well in America in general, do they?
Yeah, but even over, they don't get paid great over here.
No, it's minimum wage over here.
But what it is, the amount of abuse they take, and people going up to them and saying, can I have a pint? I didn't ask for a pint of that. And I've heard it before when I've been stood at a bar and someone's gone, can I have a pint of Stella? And I've watched them and they give them the pint of Stella. He went, I asked for Guinness. And I'm like, you didn't, mate. I urge you.
Yeah.
He's like, I definitely asked for Guinness. I'm like, and he's giving the girl a hard time or the guy a hard time behind the bar. And I'm thinking, I just gone, took it off him and gone, next.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
there's many times where they poured something wrong. I said, I'll take that. Even if it's not the drink I'm having, I'll say, I'll take it. You poured it now, I'll have it. I'll pay for it. And then
that's the thing that drives me mad. And I think we've touched it on another one. When you're stood at a bar and there's a big queue of people, and then the barman's finished serving someone or bar lady, and then goes,
who's next?
Who's next?
Yeah.
And it's like, you should know. That's your job.
Yeah.
You should be looking up at all times.
I think a lot of it's down to training. I don't think staff are trained properly, if at all.
Well, training is, can you do that?
Train to do that,
operate the till?
And they can operate the till and take the money. I think that's all they're asked about, isn't it?
If I owned a bar and I walked in, I seen someone with an empty glass, I'd go absolutely radio. I'd just be all over the place, and people be getting...
Yeah, apart from it's money, that's what bars are there for, isn't it? To give people drinks, food, etc, etc. You've got an empty glass, you ain't making money.
Yeah, so exactly. But but there's a big difference when you go over there. The customer service levels in the USA compared to the customer service levels over here are night and day.
Yeah,
and that's why you're paying to. The price of beer is probably cheaper in the USA. I don't know. I can't remember how much it is but I know over here now I'm paying in the railways, like I think it's £5 a pint for certainly where I live in Didsbury. That's £5 a pint.
What about the Whitton Chimes? Because you were there the other day.
I wasn't actually.
Bargain.
Oh, weren't you?
No, I went there. No, it was a thing that we wanted me to do. But yeah, the Whitton Chimes is bargain as well. That's good value because not only do you get Adam as the bar manager or the owner of the pub, he looks after his staff and he looks after his customers.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah, and he makes sure that no one goes upset. Everyone loves that pub.
To push back a tiny bit, why is the service good in a lot of European countries where they don't have the tip culture that America do? Is that because they need the holiday dollars? You know, like they...
It's not... Do you mean you're talking about when you go on holiday?
Like, so if you go to Portugal, for example, and you're sat in a bar, you get looked after.
Because they're looking at sales. What you've got is the people who own the bars there. They're always small bars. Or if you go into a big nightclub type thing. When you go into bars in America, they're looking to earn the wages and looking to earn tips. The more they sell, the bigger the bill, the bigger the tip, right? Mm-hmm. When you come to over here, you've got someone who's on £8.50 an hour, whatever it is, £8.72 an hour, and they're just going, I'm here till 11, and that's it.
A lot of time it's
they just want to get to 11 o'clock and go home.
It's part-time, temporary work. I mean, you go Portugal, Spain. But to be fair, a lot of people on holiday are more likely to tip anyway because they're having a good time, bit of sunshine, and the people who own the bar and the people who work there, a lot of the time, it is their bar and the people that they know and everything. Right. So they've probably got, they probably invest a bit more themselves into it, don't they? Whereas over here, they just can't be asked, can they?
But most of the staff over here, all they want to do is see till whatever time they're going, whatever time their shift changes. They just want to reach that goal.
And then that's it.
And that's it, yeah. And whatever they do in between, they don't give a shit. You know, but go to the railway's not like that.
Yep.
And the Whitton Chimes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But there you go. There's our take on the difference in pubs and bars. And I hope you guys like that too. Don't forget like and subscribe and let me know what them two pubs are called in the Woodlands. Can't live remember them.
You'll remember as soon as we finish.
I know. I will catch you guys on the next one.
Cheers, guys.